Well, good morning, everybody. As we start off here in our first full day of astronomical spring, we can see that once again, as the sun was rising, we did have clear skies again last night over parts of the southeast, and along with high pressure, this allowed for the temperatures to bottom out in this region again. And what's important about that is we just look back over the last 5 days, we can see on this map everywhere in gray that did experience a temperature at or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So this was a frost event that got pretty far into the south. We talked in yesterday's long range report about the impact this could have had on winter wheat that's grown here in parts of the Ohio River Valley, which spent up to 48 hours with temperatures below 29 degrees Fahrenheit, which could have caused some damage. But overall, we're trying to question how much longer this colder pattern is going to last. We're going to address that again at the end of this video. But just to show you this morning, this was at 6:30 a.m. Central Time. We're already watching the building of the warm sector ahead of the next storm system that's coming out of the west right now. But over here in parts of the southeast, again, you can see those areas that did touch a freezing temperature a bit below early this morning. On our all hazards weather map, we still have, as of 6:30 this morning Central Time, we have the freeze warnings that are out from Tennessee throughout the southeast all the way over to the Carolinas. But this whole pattern is about to change kind of in a big way, and we're going to be seeing several storm systems that kind of sweep through the west. They kind of come into the Texas region and then make their way toward Maine. And that's going to make a pretty challenging forecast for a lot of the country, but especially parts of New England, which has been a challenging forecast for much of this year. And I was just looking this morning at some satellite imagery. This was yesterday, and I was just trying to gauge how much snow was still in the ground here. So you can kind of see it because we did have a clear day yesterday throughout New England. And so much of the snow, of course, is still in the interior. Along the coast, we've actually not measured much this year, but I noticed a couple other neat things about this pattern yesterday. One, you can see the snow that's here in the upper Midwest. You can see how much of the Great Lakes, those at least that you can see through the clouds, have no ice on them. Again, it's pretty late in the season here, but we're still watching for that. And then I know it's down here in the corner, but if you take a look at Missouri and parts of Arkansas, we can once again see the controlled burns. And if you saw the videos earlier this week, you know that these winds were coming out of the north, pushing the smoke. Can you see them right here, the little fires? Now the winds are coming out of the south, and that's we're going to start to open up a pretty broad warm sector into this part of the country, which we'll then be watching very carefully for the risk of strong to severe storms. So the system we're going to be watching is right now coming into California, and this is an infrared satellite image from last night going through early this morning. One of the more important things about the latest forecast is that this system has actually gotten a bit stronger than originally anticipated. It's just a much deeper low, much better upper level support, getting this low to really curl up here. And we're going to be watching throughout the day today very strong winds coming into California, but this whole system as it kind of slides through here is going to increase the wind risk throughout much of the the southwestern United States, getting into the Four Corner states and eventually out into the plains. So high pressure here, opening up this warm sector, setting up the next 3 days, or 4 days really, in terms of severe weather, really Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll take a look at that in a second. But I want to comment on these winds. So I'm going to use the high-res NAM, and we're going to look at maximum accumulated wind gusts. And as I just play this forward through the day on Wednesday, getting out until Thursday and Friday, you can see the track of that system. But notice throughout California, maybe along the coast, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts are possible. Then into Colorado, coming off the Front Range into eastern Colorado, New Mexico, and then stretching out along this region. Fastest winds will likely be here. That's where we do have our high wind watches out. Again, 60 plus mile an hour winds from there to New Mexico, but a broad area in here of 30 to 40 mile an hour winds out of this next system. And this is what it looks like. So we're going to start off at 8 o'clock this morning here, Central Time. As we play through, we have winter storm warnings out for this system on the Red River Valley of the North. They also have winter storm warnings out for the Sierra Nevada and dotted throughout the Intermountain West here around the Great Basin. We could get, up to 2 feet of snow out of this coming into the Sierra Nevada, but very heavy rains, the risk of thunderstorms in the Central Valley, and very heavy rainfall there. So the lead systems, 1 and 2, spread light rain over much of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, parts of the Missouri Valley here, and then snow up north. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see that system pull through Ontario and into Quebec while rain tries to make its way over to parts of North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, just some scattered rain, light rain here. But then the next system then pulls out of the west, coming through Wyoming, emerging into South Dakota, And what we're going to keep an eye out for on Wednesday night is going to be the risk of some stronger storms here. And then this system kind of slowly takes shape and stalls out a frontal boundary right in through this area. We're going to talk about some heavy rains in through here. Then the risk of some stronger storms that kind of move across parts of the south as we go into Thursday night into Friday. Storm Prediction Center has been all over this. This is the risk on Wednesday, so tomorrow, where we could see some stronger storms. It's a marginal risk, but by day 3, this will be the corridor we're going to watch open up. And again, there'll be a stalled out frontal boundary right in this particular area. Highest risk down here in Texas toward the Red River Valley. Then going beyond that to day 4, you can see that over the lower Mississippi River Valley as the storm system evolves, so we're going to watch out for the threat for those stronger storms. So let's take a look at it on our multi-model analysis here. We've already played through this point here on Thursday. So there's the stalled out frontal boundary. Notice the GFS much farther to the north than the European is. And so we're going to see the heavy rains in the Ohio Valley. That's in both models, but notice the European models got heavy rain back in Missouri, into Oklahoma and Arkansas, and that's where the strong storms might be on Thursday night into Friday morning. Then as we play this forward, the European develops the low quicker. You can see it's got more snow late this week. This is on Friday night to Saturday morning in parts of Iowa and Illinois. It's not there in the GFS because the GFS has got the low a bit farther to the south and weaker. That system then moves toward New England. Now this is going to be a challenging forecast for New England snowfall this upcoming Saturday, Sunday. And the reason is the track of this low going like this is it's lifting. We just a general term here rather than digging and making the turn. And so we're going to have a pretty large warm sector bring in mild air in. So we could actually get snow that turns into rain with the heavier snows in Ontario and Quebec. Now after that, going through this weekend into Saturday, there are just broader trough features coming through the west in this pattern. We're going to watch another storm system. See it here. It's in both models coming out next Monday, Tuesday, kind of following the same track. And then again, another coastal low coming down the west. So this pattern's kind of on a wash, rinse, repeat cycle here for the next 10 days or so. Let's add up the snow in the west by the European model and just play out 10 days. Just want to make a point here that we're still adding another 1 to 2 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada, up to 18 inches in the Cascades, and again, maybe 1 foot, maybe 1.5 feet of snow in the upper Colorado Basin. In the Midwest, now we're going to have to be careful with this forecast. This is the first system, okay? Right in through there's the heaviest snows, maybe a 3 to 5 inch event. It's this system that I'm still not sold on, right in through here. See that? So there's the second one, maybe bringing its snow to Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, and then the third one tries to go over the top of it. Please don't look at this forecast and assume this is going to happen. This is next Monday. Track of this low is going to change a lot. But what we're really looking for here is where the potential for the snow is. So if we just kind of say, ignore this map for the west, because 3 inches is nothing out here, but we're trying to identify where we could possibly add more snow over the next 10 days here. And then again, a very tricky forecast for the interior of New England. On the total precip side, we're watching for the heaviest rainfall to be in this area. Okay, and the models right now have got a high probability of getting at least 2 inches of rain right in through this area from the European ensemble. But if we look to where it's going to be drier, it's going to be along the Gulf Coast up to the Carolinas. It's going to be back here in New Mexico, Texas, and then stretching along the western plains up into the Canadian prairie. This map shows the probability of seeing less than a 1/2 inch of precipitation over the next 10 days. And the context of this, the broader context of this is this has been an area that models have continually over-predicted rainfall for much of the last month. Same thing along the Gulf Coast and up here into the mid-Atlantic. So we're going to have to just watch that carefully. Bigger picture, though, is this. We do not see through the end of March a signal to push a broad part of the United States over warm. We just have too much troughing. There's too much of a ridge in the Aleutian Islands, and therefore it's just broader troughing across the country. It does keep things a bit more active. You see, we continue at the end of this month into early April to see wetter conditions in California, maybe along the south and then in the Midwest. And the GFS is kind of painting the same picture. Drier where it's currently dry, wetter where it's been wetter. So that pattern just seems to be on repeat for a little while. What about these temperatures? Well, over the next 7 days, everywhere in gray is where we're expecting a frost, and that includes what's going on down here today in the southeast. But there's that warm sector opening up. But just thinking about where, again, we've seen this frost as of late, I pulled up here just the forecast data. Here it is for Atlanta. And while we're cold now, when we see this warm up coming, the models are trying to bring back some cooler air, around March 29th, 30th into March 31st here, maybe another risk of a frost event. And we can see by looking at the high temperatures that that's not necessarily in the next 7 days. Look, by Wednesday into Thursday, that large warm sector opens up. What we're watching out for here is as we go into Friday, and it is Saturday and Sunday. Are we storing up more cold air that can be pulled back through the U.S.? Because the longer range models just continue to see that. This is that 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies getting toward the end of March. This is the last 5 days of March, and then to the first 5 days of April. No real signal of just broad warmth coming in at that point. As we discussed last night, we're waiting possibly another 20 to 25 days before this pattern can push things open and displace some of this colder air. Lastly, I just want to give you a quick update on South America. Not much change in the overall pattern. Still seeing drier conditions in Brazil's central and eastern growing areas. They need to harvest here, so this is good. Very wet weather coming into Argentina after record drought. Some places here may see 3 to 4 inches of additional rainfall compared to average. And Mato Grosso, large state here, of course, that produces 30 to 35% of the corn and soybean crop for Brazil, sees near normal precipitation for the most part, a little bit wetter farther to the east. That's going to continue to push safrinha crop in that area along. So we'll keep watching it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.